I never imagined a single impulsive kiss could trigger thermonuclear revenge. But here I am, sifting through the radioactive debris of my life, all because I tried to reignite the passion in my marriage with a spark of jealousy. Spoiler alert, it backfired spectacularly. It all began at my sister Megan's wedding. Picture this. A breathtaking vineyard bathed in the warm glow of sunset, fairy lights twinkling like earthbound stars, the intoxicating scent of roses mingling with top-shelf champagne. I was standing by the bar, feeling pretty damn fabulous in my bridesmaid dress. A slinky number that hugged my curves in all the right places. That's when I spotted my husband Jack, engrossed in conversation with some leggy blonde who looked like she'd just stepped off a runway. At Jack and I'd been married for 5 years. Good years, mostly. We'd weathered storms together, celebrated victories, and built a life that looked perfect on paper. But lately, things had been, well, let's just say the spark had fizzled. We were more Netflix and actually chill than Netflix and chill, if you catch my drift. Our conversations had devolved into discussions about grocery lists and utility bills. Passion. That was a distant memory, like a faded Polaroid stuffed in the back of a drawer. So when I saw Jack laughing with Miss Longlegs, something snapped inside me. It was like a dam breaking, releasing a flood of insecurities and frustrations I'd been bottling up for months. 2 shots of tequila, please, I said to the bartender, my voice tight with a mixture of anger and determination. I knocked them back in quick succession, relishing the burn as the liquid courage coursed through my veins. That's when I saw him. Todd, my high school crush, looking unfairly handsome in a tailored suit that accentuated his broad shoulders and narrow waist. My heart did a little flip-flop, just like it used to back in homeroom. Is that you? Todd's voice was just as I remembered, smooth as honey, with a hint of mischief. Wow, you look incredible. I felt a flush creep up my neck, and this time, it wasn't just from the tequila. Todd, oh my God, it's been forever, you're looking pretty good yourself. We fell into easy conversation, reminiscing about old times, laughing at shared memories of disastrous school dances and cringeworthy fashion choices. I kept glancing over at Jack, but he seemed completely oblivious to my existence, still chatting animatedly with the blonde bombshell. Remember prom night? Todd asked, leaning in close enough that I could smell his cologne. A heady mix of sandalwood and something uniquely ***. When we almost share, I giggled, putting a finger to his lips. God, his lips looked soft. I wondered if they still tasted like the cherry chapstick he used to wear obsessively in high school. The tequila was buzzing through my system now, making everything seem brighter, more exciting, more possible. That's when I had my brilliant, red, colossally stupid idea. Jack wanted to ignore me. Fine, I'd give him something he couldn't ignore. I grabbed Todd's tie, yanking him close, and kissed him. Not just a peck, mind you. We're talking full-on, romance novel, fireworks exploding kind of kiss. For a moment, I forgot about Jack, about the wedding, about everything except the feel of Todd's lips on mine and the warmth of his hands on my waist. Then I heard the sound of glass shattering. I broke away from Todd, breathless and more than a little dazed, to see Jack standing there. His champagne flute lay in pieces at his feet, the expensive bubbly soaking into his polished shoes. But it wasn't the ruined footwear that made my blood run cold. It was the look in his eyes. A mixture of shock, pain, and something darker. Something that made me realize I'd just made a terrible, terrible mistake. Jack, I started, but he was already turning away, pushing through the crowd of guests who had fallen silent, all eyes on our little drama. Jack, wait, I called, stumbling after him. I caught up to him in the parking lot, grabbing his arm. Please, let me explain. He whirled around, his face a mask of fury. Explain what? How you had your tongue down another man's throat, at your sister's wedding no less. It's not what you think, I pleaded, my voice trembling. I wanted to make you jealous, to get your attention. You've been so distant lately, and I saw you with that blonde woman, and I don't know, I snapped. Jack laughed, a harsh, bitter sound that made me flinch. Well, congratulations, you've got my attention and my contempt. Is this what our marriage means to you? Some game where you can toy with my feelings? No, Jack, please, I begged, tears streaming down my face now. I love you. It was a stupid mistake. I'd had too much to drink, and I wasn't thinking clearly. Please, can we just go home and talk about this? He yanked his arm from my grasp, his eyes cold. I'm not going anywhere with you. Not now. Not ever. We're done. With that, he got into his car and peeled out of the parking lot with a screech of tires. I stood there, the gravity of what I'd done crushing over me, like a tidal wave. The cool night air soared me up quickly, leaving me with nothing but the bitter taste of regret in my mouth. Little did I know, that was just the beginning of my nightmare. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache and a metric ton of remorse. Jack hadn't come home. My phone was flooded with missed calls and texts, mostly from Megan, alternating between concern and fury. Apparently, my little stunt had overshadowed her big day. Sister of the Year award? Not happening. I tried calling Jack, but it went straight to voicemail. Jack, please, I begged after the beep. I'm so sorry. It was a stupid, drunken mistake. Can we please talk about this? I love you. I never meant to hurt you. Please come home. No response. Not that day, not the next. By the third day of radio silence, I was frantic. I went to the police, but they just shrugged. He's an adult, they said. He has the right to go off-grid if he wants to. A week passed. Then 2. I was a wreck, barely eating, barely sleeping. My life had become a series of desperate phone calls and tearful apologies to voicemail. I'd ruined everything, and for what? A moment of drunken stupidity. That's when the first package arrived. It was a small, plain brown box. No return address. Inside was a USB drive and a note that simply said, "Play me." With shaking hands, I plugged it into my laptop. The video started playing. It was security camera footage from the wedding, showing my kiss with Todd in high-definition glory. But that wasn't all. It then cut to footage of me and Jack in our bedroom, clearly filmed without my knowledge. Intimate moments, private conversations, all laid bare. The video ended with a message. How does it feel to have your privacy invaded? This is just the beginning. I felt sick, violated, terrified. But it was only the start of Jack's elaborate revenge plot. The next day, I got a call from my boss. We need to talk, he said, his voice strained. Someone sent an inappropriate video to everyone in the company. You're in it. I was fired on the spot. Apparently, starring in amateur porn wasn't aligned with the company's values. I tried to explain, to defend myself, but the damage was done. I left the office in tears, clutching a box of personal belongings, feeling the stares and whispers of my now ex-colleagues. Then came the social media blitz. Every account I had was hacked. My Facebook status was changed to in an open relationship and loving it. My Instagram was flooded with photoshopped images of me in compromising positions. My Twitter started spewing a stream of offensive comments that make me sound like a deranged, sex-crazed maniac. My phone rang. It was Megan. What the hell is going on? She hissed. Mom and Dad are freaking out. Your face is all over the internet. I don't know, I sobbed. I think it's Jack. He's trying to ruin my life. Well, he's doing a pretty good job, Megan snapped. Fix this. Fix it now. But how do you fix a life that's being systematically destroyed? The hits kept coming. My credit cards were maxed out on bizarre purchases. A life-size statue of a giraffe, 17 cases of pickle-flavored vodka, a subscription to a monthly artisanal dirt delivery service. My email was spammed with subscriptions to every questionable newsletter and mailing list imaginable. I tried to fight back, to regain control of my accounts, but it was like trying to plow a dam with my fingers. For every issue I resolved, 3 more popped up. It was relentless, exhausting, and terrifying. The final blow came a month after the wedding. I was at the grocery store, trying to keep my head down. Hard to do when your face has become infamous online, when I overheard 2 women talking. Did you hear about that cheating woman? The one whose husband got revenge? Oh yeah, the wedding kisser, right? God, what a slut. She totally deserved it. I heard he's auctioning off all her stuff, everything in their house. I dropped my basket, cans of soup rolling across the floor. I ran home, praying it wasn't true. But when I got there, the door was open and the house was empty. Everything, furniture, clothes, even family photos, was gone. In their place was a single piece of paper. You took what mattered most to me, so I took everything from you, even now. I sat to the floor of my empty living room and cried until I had no tears left. Weeks passed in a blur. I was jobless, friendless, and practically homeless. My parents reluctantly let me move back in, but I could see the disappointment in their eyes every time they looked at me. I was the cautionary tale, the punchline to a cruel joke. I tried to rebuild, applying for jobs and reaching out to friends, but Jack's revenge had been thorough. Our reputation was in tatters. Every potential employer who Googled me found a minefield of scandals and embarrassing content. Friends stopped returning my calls, not wanting to be associated with a crazy cheater splashed all over social media. I felt like I was drowning, gasping for air in a sea of consequences I'd never imagined. How had one mistake, one moment of drunken idiocy led to this? The weight of guilt and regret was crushing, and there were days I couldn't even bring myself to get out of bed. Then, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I got a text from an unknown number. PF 39. Midnight. Come alone if you want answers. I knew it was probably a bad idea. Okay, a monumentally stupid idea. But I was desperate. I had nothing left to lose. The pier was deserted when I arrived, the fog rolling in from the bay, shrouding everything in an eerie mist. I held my jacket tighter around me, jumping every sound. The lapping of the waves against the pier piling sounded ominous in the darkness. Hello? I called out, my voice small and uncertain. Is anyone there? Hello? I whirled around to see Jack stepping out of the shadows. He looked different, thinner, with dark circles under his eyes. But his gaze was as cold and hard as steel. Jack, I whispered, a maelstrom of emotion swirling inside me. Relief, fear, anger, love. Why? Why did you do all this? He laughed, a hollow sound that echoed across the water. Why? You destroyed our marriage. You humiliated me in front of everyone we know. Did you think I'd just roll over and take it? It was one kiss. I cried, tears streaming down my face. One stupid, drunken mistake. I was trying to make you jealous, to get your attention. I never meant to hurt you. What you've done, it's insane, Jack. It's cruel. It's exactly what you deserved. He cut me off, his voice as sharp as a knife. An eye for an eye. Isn't that how it goes? This isn't an eye for an eye. I shot back, anger cutting through my fear and guilt. This is thermonuclear warfare for a paper cut. You've destroyed my entire life, Jack. My job, my reputation, my future. It's all gone. For a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of something, regret, uncertainty, in his eyes. But it was gone as quickly as it appeared, replaced by that same cold fury. "It's done now," he said flatly. "There's no going back." "So that's it?" I asked, my voice breaking. 5 years of marriage, and this is how it ends? With you systematically destroying my life. He turned away, staring out at the dark water. You destroyed it first. The moment you kissed him. I made a mistake, Jack. One mistake. But I loved you. I still love you, despite everything you've done. He flinched at that, almost imperceptibly. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter, tinged with something that sounded almost like pain. Love isn't enough sometimes. We stood there in silence for what felt like hours, the fog swirling around us, the distant sound of folk horns punctuating the night. I thought about our first date, our wedding day, all the little moments that had made up our life together. How had we gone from that to this? Finally, Jack turned back to me. "I'm leaving town," he said. "Starting over somewhere new. You'll never hear from me again." "Jack, please," I pleaded, reaching out to him. Can't we try to fix this? Go to counseling, work through this together. I know I hurt you, but what you've done, it's so much worse. We both made mistakes, horrible, hurtful mistakes. But does that erase everything we had?" For a moment, I saw his facade crack. Pain, raw and visceral, flashed across his face. "I don't know how to trust you again," he whispered. "Every time I close my eyes, I see you kissing him. I hear people laughing at me, pitying me. The man too stupid to see his wife was unhappy." "I was wrong," I said, taking a tentative step closer. "So wrong. But Jack, what you've done, it's not justice, it's cruelty. This isn't the man I married. The Jack I know wouldn't do this." He looked at me then, really looked at me, and for the first time in months, I felt seen. "Maybe we don't know each other as well as we thought," he said softly. "Then let's get to know each other again," I pleaded. "Start over. No more games, no more revenge. Just us." For a heart-stopping moment, I thought he might agree. I saw the conflict in his eyes, the war between love and pain. But then he shook his head. "Some things can't be fixed. They can only be survived." And with that, he walked away, disappearing into the fog like a ghost. I stood there long after he was gone, the cold seeping into my bones. I thought about the life we'd had, the future we'd planned. All gone now, shattered like that champagne glass on our wedding day. As I finally turned to leave, I realized something. Yes, Jack had taken everything from me. My job, my reputation, my possessions. But in doing so, he'd also given me something. A clean slate. A chance to rebuild, to start over. It wouldn't be easy. The road ahead was long and uncertain, filled with challenges I couldn't even imagine yet. But as I walked away from the pier, I felt a tiny spark of hope ignite in my chest. I'd survived Jack's thermonuclear revenge. I could survive anything. The fog was starting to lift as I made my way home. A new day was dawning, both literally and figuratively. I had no idea what it would bring. But for the first time in months, I was ready to face it. After all, when you've hit rock bottom, the only way left to go is up. The next few weeks were a blur of small steps and minor victories. I started by reclaiming my digital life, spending hours on the phone with customer service representatives, explaining my situation over and over again. It was humiliating having to detail my marital drama to strangers, but slowly I began to regain control of my accounts. I found a job at a small coffee shop. It was a far cry from my corporate career, but the owner, a kind-hearted woman named Elena, didn't care about my online reputation. "We all make mistakes, honey," she said, patting my hand. "It's how we bounce back that matters." Working at the coffee shop was more than just a paycheck. It was a lifeline, a way to connect with people again. Every smile from a customer, every thank you, as I handed over a latte, helped rebuild my shattered self-esteem. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, a familiar face walked in. It was Todd, looking slightly sheepish as he approached the counter. "Hey," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "Ah, I heard you were working here." My heart raced, memories of that fateful kiss flooding back. "Todd?" I managed my voice barely above a whisper. "What are you doing here?" He sighed, his eyes filled with remorse. "I came to apologize. What happened at the wedding? I should have stopped it. I knew you were married, and I took advantage of the situation. I'm so sorry for the part one played in all of this." I felt a lump form in my throat. "It wasn't your fault," I said, blinking back tears. "I'm the one who kissed you. I'm the one who ruined everything." Todd shook his head. "We both made a mistake. But what happened afterward? It's insane. I had no idea Jack would react like that. Are you okay?" I let out a bitter laugh. "Okay. I'm not sure I remember what that feels like anymore, but I'm surviving. That's something, right?" We talked for a while, the coffee shop quiet, and the lull between the lunch and dinner rushes. Todd listened as I poured out my heart, telling him about Jack's revenge, the loss of my job, the isolation. "I can't believe he did all that," Todd said, shaking his head in disbelief. "It's cruel and inhumane." "It's my fault," I whispered, voicing the thought that had been haunting me for months. "If I hadn't kissed you." "No," Todd said firmly, reaching across the counter to grasp my hand. "Listen to me. What you did was a mistake, yes. But it was one moment of poor judgment. What Jack did, that was calculated, prolonged cruelty. That's not love. That's not even justice. It's abuse." Hearing someone else say it out loud, abuse sent a shiver down my spine. Had I been so blinded by guilt that I couldn't see the truth? Jack's actions weren't those of a heartbroken husband. They were the actions of a man intent on destroying me. As Todd left, promising to stay in touch, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Guilt, yes, but also a growing anger. Not just at Jack, but myself for accepting his revenge as something I deserved. That night, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, Todd's words echoing in my mind. By the time the sun rose, I had made a decision. I was done being a victim. It was time to fight back. The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. I reached out to a lawyer, explaining my situation. She listened with growing horror as I detailed Jack's actions. "What he's done is illegal on multiple levels," she explained. "Identity theft, defamation, invasion of privacy. We have a strong case here. We filed lawsuits against Jack and the companies that have fired me based on the false information he spread." It was a long, exhausting process, filled with depositions and court appearances. But with each step, I felt stronger. I was reclaiming my narrative, refusing to let Jack's actions define me. The story caught the attention of a local journalist. At first, I was hesitant to talk to her, fearing more public scrutiny. But as we spoke, I realized this was an opportunity to tell my side of the story. The article, when it came out, was fair and balanced. It detailed my mistake at the wedding, yes, but it also laid bare the extent of Jack's revenge. The public reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Messages of support flooded in. Women who had experienced similar situations reached out, thanking me for speaking up. One message, in particular, caught my attention. It was from Jack's ex-girlfriend, a woman named Melissa. "I read your story," she wrote, "and it brought back so many memories. Jack did something similar to me when we broke up years ago. Not to the same extent, but the pattern was there. The need for control, the disproportionate reaction to any perceived slight. I'm so sorry you went through this. You're not alone." Reading Melissa's message was like a key turning in a lock. Suddenly, so many things about my relationship with Jack clicked into place. The way he'd always needed to know where I was, the subtle put-downs when I succeeded at work, the cold silences when I disagreed with him. I'd mistaken his jealousy for passion, his control for care. I agreed to meet Melissa for coffee. As we talked, sharing our experiences, I felt a weight lifting off my shoulders. For the first time, I truly understood that Jack's actions weren't my fault. They were the result of his own issues, his need for control and dominance. You know, Melissa said as we were saying goodbye, in a weird way, you're lucky. I raised an eyebrow, skeptical. Lucky? How? She smiled sadly. Because his reaction was so extreme, you can see it for what it is. Abuse. If he just yelled at you, or even if he'd just divorced you, you might have spent years blaming yourself, thinking you deserved it. But this is so clearly wrong that you can't ignore it. It's horrible, what you've been through. But it's also a wake-up call. Her words stayed with me long after we parted. A wake-up call. Yes, that's exactly what it was. The legal proceedings dragged on for over a year. It was a roller coaster of emotions. Hope, fear, anger, determination. But slowly, surely, things began to turn in my favor. The company that had fired me settled out of court, offering a significant sum and a public apology. The lawsuits against Jack progressed, with damning evidence mounting against him. Through it all, I continued working at the coffee shop. Elena had become more than just a boss. She was a friend, a confidant. The regulars knew my story now, and their quiet support meant more than they could ever know. Then, on a crisp autumn morning, I received a call from my lawyer. "We've won," she said, her voice filled with excitement. "The judge ruled in our favor on all counts. Jack's been ordered to pay damages. And there's a restraining order in place. It's over." I sank to the floor, phone clutched to my chest, sobs racking my body. It was a release of everything I'd been holding in for so long. The fear, the anger, the guilt, the shame. But mixed with the tears of relief were tears of sadness for the love I'd lost, the life I'd thought I'd have. In the days that followed, I felt like I was walking in a daze. The victory was sweet, yes, but it also forced me to confront the reality of my situation. My marriage was over, the life I'd planned with Jack was gone. I was, in many ways, starting from scratch. But as I stood behind the counter of the coffee shop, watching the sun rise over the city, I realized something. I wasn't the same person I'd been before all this happened. I was stronger now, more resilient. I understood my worth in a way I never had before. I thought about the girl I'd been on my wedding day, so full of hope and love. I thought about the woman I'd become, tempered by pain, but not broken by it. And I thought about the future stretching out before me, full of possibilities I couldn't even imagine yet. A customer approached the counter, pulling me from my reverie. "Good morning," I said, managing a genuine smile. "What can I get for you today?" As I prepared his order, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. Yes, Jack's thermonuclear revenge had demolished the life I'd known. But from the ashes, I was building something new, something stronger, something that was entirely my own. The bell over the door chimed as a group of college students bustled in, filling the shop with laughter and chatter. I took a deep breath, inhaling the rich scent of coffee and possibility. This wasn't the life I'd planned, but maybe, just maybe, it could be even better. Update. 5 years have passed since that day at the coffee shop. 5 years of healing, growth, and rediscovery. I no longer work behind the counter, I own the place now. A dinner retired last year, offering to sell me the shop. With the settlement money from the lawsuits, I was able to buy it outright. We've expanded, opening to more locations across the city. But more than just a business owner, I've become an advocate. My story, it turns out, wasn't unique. So many others had experienced similar situations. Revenge porn, digital harassment, abusive partners using technology as a weapon. I started a support group, which grew into a non-profit organization dedicated to helping victims of digital abuse. I've spoken at conferences, lobbied for stricter laws against online harassment, and counseled countless individuals who found themselves in situations similar to mine. It's not always easy reliving my own trauma as I help others through theirs, but it's fulfilling in a way I never could have imagined. My personal life has evolved too. I dated casually for a while, learning to trust again, learning what I truly wanted in a partner. And then, unexpectedly, I had found love again. Not the all-consuming, dramatic love I'd had with Jack, but something steadier, more mature. David is kind, supportive, and most importantly, he respects me as an equal. We're taking things slow, both of us carrying baggage from past relationships, but it feels right in a way that gives me hope for the future. As for Jack, I heard through the grapevine that he'd moved across the country. There are rumors that he tried similar tactics with other women, but armed with the precedent set by my case, they were able to shut him down quickly. Part of me hopes he's gotten help, dealt with whatever issues drove him to such extremes. But mostly, I try not to think about him at all. Sometimes, late at night, I still wake up in a cold sweat, memories of those dark days flooding back. But those moments are becoming rarer. More often, I wake up excited for the day ahead, grateful for the life I've built. This morning, as I unlocked the door to the coffee shop, a young woman was waiting outside. I recognized the look in her eyes, fear, shame, desperation.